Hey everyone, this is James Pelton. Happy Wednesday to you all. I'm excited today. I have Greg Tucker on. We're going to be talking about Spartan Bitcoin mining. And again, just as the DeFi space, I was just talking with Greg about how it's been full of rug pulls and Ponzi schemes and this and that and the other thing. And so always on the lookout for and excited to hear about projects that are actually doing something and something that I think potentially can make my audience some money. So as we're going here, first thing I need from you guys should go without saying, but I'll say it anyways. Please hit the like button. Go ahead and just say hi if you're here, and let me know and let Greg know if you have any questions as we're going. Please ask, and we will get as many of those answered as we possibly can. So let's turn over to Greg here for a minute. Greg, welcome. Thank you for hopping on here today. Can you start us off with just a quick introduction of yourself, a little bit of your background before we dive into Spartan Bitcoin mining?
Sure. And thank you, James, for having me today. I am an old timer. You can probably tell by looking at me, but it's unusual for someone 60 years old to be involved in crypto these days. But I think I've been involved in the crypto space for 5 or 6 years now. I'm a former president and CEO of a publicly traded company. That was back a couple decades ago. I also had a medical equipment business. We did oxygen, integral tube feeding, infusion therapy, that sort of thing. I live in upstate South Carolina, in between Atlanta and Charlotte, close to Clemson University, if you've ever heard of Clemson. I'm in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And we started this business 90 days ago. So we're just getting ready to move forward and start to move heavily into growth mode. So this is a perfect time to be talking about Spartan Bitcoin.
Okay, very, very excited to talk about it. Yeah, Bitcoin. Honestly, people always ask me, hey, what should I do in crypto? What should I get into? And honestly, the number one thing I tell people right now, it's kind of boring, but it's buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin is at a really good spot right now. We have the ETFs coming up with BlackRock and Fidelity and Vanguard and others. I mean, that could potentially be well, it's definitely going to be billions of dollars coming into the industry, and all that's going to go into the price of Bitcoin. And then also it shows that these companies believe in the future of Bitcoin, which is a good thing for us for sure. So excited to talk with you about this. And yes, it is very cool to see I'm not going to call you old, but we'll say the older generation.
Geriatrics, I hear you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly. But it's very cool to see older people involved in crypto as well, because it's not just for millennials, not just for Gen Z, but excited that you're on here. So can you tell us a little bit, again, assuming people have never heard of Spartan Bitcoin mining, tell us about Spartan Bitcoin mining, what you're setting out to do.
Sure. So I've had a close friend in Florida for several years. He's taken several companies public. I've helped him with different projects along the way. And he called me up back in July, August of last year and told me about a new approach with the SEC where you can file and raise up to $5 million a year to put toward growing a business. So my first response was, I don't have a business. He said, yes, you do. Bitcoin mining. We've been doing it now for several years. And I wasn't directly involved, but I pretty much have been indirectly involved with that for a while now. So we are doing what's called a CF filing. Basically stands for crowdfunding. Think someone's house burns down and someone starts a crowdfunding pool for them. Same thing, but it's filed with the SEC. Again, we can raise up to $5 million a year. We sell shares to our investors, okay? So the minimum investment is $300. And what is Spartan Bitcoin all about? Well, at my age, here's the good news about me being 60. I don't need the money, right? We're not dependent on Spartan Bitcoin for our income. So when we started putting this together, my thought has always been, if I ever started another business, I want to do it in a way where it's going to be fun. I get to interact with people like yourself, get to know interesting new people along the way. And we set it up where, the shareholder really is the beneficiary of everything that we do. Shareholder friendly. I've heard that term thrown around for 30 or 40 years. This really is shareholder friendly. Let me explain. First of all, we're not taking any salaries for the calendar year 2023. Zero salaries. And when we do start taking salaries, even if we do, they'll be very modest at best, at worst, I should say. Second thing is we don't take any shares. We're not taking any additional common shares, and we will not take any common shares for the remainder of 2023 as well, even though our filing says that we will never own more than 20% of the company. Think about that for a second. Under normal circumstances, if you start a business, and especially if you're taking it public, you're probably going to own 80, 90% of the company and put the rest of the stock out there for public consumption, right? Even if you start a private company, you're going to have the lion's share. What we have are some preferred shares in the background just to maintain majority ownership. But when it comes to the ownership of the actual common stock, where all the magic happens, the founders and officers of this company will never own more than 20% of the company. Okay. Now, next thing I want to tell you is we thought about the exit strategy on day one, actually day minus 90. The exit strategy is for us to either sell the company somewhere between today and 6 years from now. If we can catch 2 up cycles in Bitcoin, that would be wonderful. But 6 years is a long time. We might, get antsy and either sell the company or take it public. Either way, it's an exit strategy for our shareholders where they can cash out down the road. Okay. So what does it mean to only have 20% ownership? The reason we did that is because we also offered dividends. So here's the simplicity of this. This might be the least riskiest way to get involved in crypto that you've ever seen. You put your investment in. We take your investment and the combination of all the other investments, and we buy Bitcoin mining rigs. All the Bitcoin that is generated on a monthly basis, we send to one wallet. At the end of the month, and I'm giving you the Reader's Digest version, okay? At the end of the month, there is an invoice for electricity, hosting, and maintenance. The difference between those two is what we actually make in the company. Our very first full month was May. We actually made a profit in May. What do we do with those profits? We take them and turn around and pay dividends back to our shareholders. Okay. When I said we don't need the money, somebody kind of flippantly said, well, if you don't need the money, why don't you just pay? We're talking about dividends. We do 4%, 8%, 12%. And somebody said, well, why don't you do 100% if you don't need the money? And we thought, well, why not? If the end result is to get somewhere between, let's say, 2 years and 6 years down the road and have millions in assets in Bitcoin mining rigs, cash, and Bitcoin that we've accumulated, if that's the ultimate goal in order to have something to take public or sell, then why not pay it out? Why not pay it out in dividends? So each month we take 80% of what we make and we pay it out in dividends to our shareholders. The other 20% is held in escrow in Bitcoin. For every mining rig that we put out there in operation, we also put $1,000 in cash into a separate account for those rainy days, and we all know what that means. When halving hits and other months down the road, other years down the road, who knows what might happen. But if we're ever underwater, we want to be protected and protect ourselves from that. So, we might look up a year from now and go, wow, 1,000 was way too much. Maybe we can get by with just 500 per rig. But for right now, we're being very conservative with this whole approach. We were talking about our dividends yesterday, just so happens, and we ended up paying out the dividends in additional shares. And we had the option of opening up a new bank account and getting everyone's ACH information, even if they invested with a credit card or crypto, or they invested with a check or money order or wire transfer. And it was going to be a ton of additional work. So we're paying out in shares. And James, the last time you and I spoke about this, we were talking about paying out the difference between revenue and the difference between our expenses every month. Whatever's left, that goes out, 80% of that goes out in dividends. I think what we've landed on as of today, the light bulb went off for me last night. when we paid out the dividend, when we're paying out the first dividend in shares, it occurred to me, we're not a publicly traded company. We're a private company, which means that with a filing adjustment, go back with the SEC and adjust the filing, we can pay out our dividends based on whatever parameters we'd like. What we're leaning toward is paying out based on revenue. Forget the expenses. If the ultimate goal is for each individual that's invested in this company to have as many shares as possible for the day that we sell or go public, then why not put shares in people's hands? We've got the flexibility to do that. And quite honestly, all the money that we're keeping back, actual cash dollars, is additional dollars we can put into additional mining rigs. So I've talked to a couple of people about that. We're going to put out a video next week to our current shareholders and get their opinion. But I've only talked to 3 people so far, and all 3 of them are like, absolutely, because it's like a 5-fold increase in the revenue that you receive. Of course, it's in shares, but the value of those shares should go up over time. They're being sold for $1 right now, but every indication just through the first 2 months would tell us that when we re-up, we have to do a refiling every year. On year 2, we already know those shares are going to go up pretty significantly in value. So at this point, especially early in the game, we can do it this way, and I think it's going to make a lot of people happy. So you're probably glad to hear that as well.
Okay, yeah, I am. No, that's great. As a holder myself, yeah, I love that. First off, I want to just welcome some people in the audience. So setting out with the Setterfields, thank you for joining the community. We've got Schofield here, Funny Turo, Dustin, RX. Good to see all you guys. Please do, if you have any questions about, this is structured a little bit different than the DeFi Bitcoin mining projects like the NFTs that we've done in the past. So if you have questions about that, or need clarification about anything, please let me know, and I'll make sure to ask that. So just to verify, when you invest in this, you're actually receiving shares in the company. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. There is a platform that we use. When I took a company public a couple decades ago, everything was manual. A subscription agreement, sign it, put it in the mail. Any documentation or dealing with your attorney or accountant, it was all, drive and mail and phone calls and so forth. For an old timer like me, it's pretty exciting to see how far everything's advanced. So we have a platform where if you make an investment, let's say you do the minimum of $300 or anything above that, you're going to go to SpartanBitcoinMining.com and make that investment. Once you do, we have a platform that will allow you to walk through and answer a series of questions. You don't have to be an affiliate or accredited to invest in the company. Sorry, I misspoke there. You don't have to be accredited, but they will ask you a series of questions so that you can, or they can determine what your maximum investment is. So once you go through those series of questions, you can invest with credit card, check, money order, Bitcoin, just about any way that you want to invest. And that's a good indication right there. That lady's going to, each section of the platform, there's a small video where she's going to walk you through the steps, and it's very easy to do. The beauty of doing what we're doing is we have filed with the SEC. If I do, or if anybody on my team does anything unscrupulous, guess what? We're on the hook for it. So absolutely, by no means, you're talking rug pull. I've been a victim of a few of those myself. So this is, like I said, this is one of the more secure ways of ensuring that you're investing in the crypto space, or the least riskiest, I should say, because we are in fact filed with the SEC. But once you walk through that, there is a KYC process. Sometimes people get a little frustrated because it might take a few days to do that. But once you have gone through the investment and gone through the KYC process, then your shares will show up on the dashboard, and you'll have, they've got other companies that they work with. So if you have multiple investments, they'll show up, on your dashboard as well. But let's say you invest $500, you've got 500 shares, they're going to show up on your dashboard. And any additional shares that you receive as a result of the dividends that we're going to pay out on a monthly basis, they'll start to accumulate there. We'll also do weekly updates, either email or video, and we kind of keep people abreast of what's happening, how this thing's progressing. Our first month was the equivalent of about 12 cents annually, or about a 12% return. That's just a ballpark, okay? But if we're not doing that in dollars and we do that in shares, that's a multiple of somewhere around 4 to 5, okay? So that's pretty strong. And we're pretty excited about that as well. So yeah, it's pretty simple, man. Just when you log on and you invest, you'll always have access, username and password to that dashboard. And you'll always see what your latest investment is, and we'll kind of keep you posted on, the estimated value of the shares, as in what we're going to do as far as the offering on round two.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, so this is very different than a lot of the Bitcoin mining projects. I'm not used to seeing SEC registrations for things like this, so I do like that. It does make it a lot, a lot more secure. Again, if Greg ran off with the money, there would be a lot of problems with that. There would be big problems with the SEC and things like that. Paul says the SEC filing under what should be public doc. So yeah, here it is. I'll post a link to this if you want to look through it. But this is the SEC. Their document that they set up there. So it is, I did read through it, and, I'm not a securities expert or anything like that, but, it's better than what we usually get in DeFi, which is nothing. So, really like that.
Yeah. If you go to SpartanBitcoinMining.com and click on the Invest Here button, it'll take you to the filing, and it's 60 something pages. Just reviewed it myself again this morning, as a matter of fact. So everything's there for you to review.
Okay, very cool. So let's talk about the journey for an investor, what that looks like. So your people, let's say they invest today, they put in $300 or $500 or 1,000, whatever they're wanting to do. And then they're going to be receiving dividends each month. Is that going to start next month, or when will the dividends start for people if they were to invest today?
Good question. That's already started. We probably have 15 or 16 different companies, vendors, partners that are involved with this project that all, keep everything moving the way it should. Anyway, from your accountant to your attorney to even the individual that allows us to accept crypto. And then when you add in the individuals in those companies, we probably have about 50 different people that have their hands in this project. So the first 90 days was our target to make sure that everything was functioning as it should. Everything went pretty flawlessly, except for two things: the escrow account, getting money out of the escrow account to invest in mining rigs. There was about a 30-day delay. I don't know what it was. I don't really care. All we know is it's fixed now. The second was figuring out how to get the dividend paid out. So we had that discussion yesterday, as a matter of fact. And what we landed on was the ability to keep it streamlined by paying it out in shares. So, our goal is to run this operation for 6 years and sell it or take it public at that time. Knowing me and knowing the people that are already involved, it's probably going to be a lot earlier than that. Okay. But that's the maximum. 6 years would be catching two nice Bitcoin up cycles. Hopefully, if things keep going the way it's gone in the past. But, whatever, we'll know when the timing's right. I can't tell you exactly what the parameters are going to be and what the deciding factors are. But at some point, we will take it public, or we will sell the company to an interested buyer. And by the way, crypto hasn't even gotten into the acquisition phase, where if you've watched stocks for years, you see, there gets to be a point in an industry where people start to accumulate smaller operators and roll everything up into a bigger component. So I'm sure that will happen at some point when Bitcoin miners start looking for smaller operators that they can acquire. So when that time comes, and if the market is right, it doesn't matter when it happens. It'll happen when the timing is right. Okay.
Okay. Yep. No, sounds really good. And I'm really excited about Yeah, like this BlackRock ETF. I was just reading an article, and who knows, but they said that this could add, I think they said 30 trillion, but that couldn't be right. That would be like, a 60x on the price of Bitcoin, that alone. So who knows, but the future is looking bright for Bitcoin for sure. So I had a question. So you're paying out dividends in shares, correct?
Correct.
Is there a way for people to exit the shares, or do they have to wait for the sale of the company before they're able to cash out on that?
Hold on one second. My wife's handing me a note. Okay. Gotcha. Thank you. That's a good question. The answer to that is we all cash out at the same time. When you get involved with this thing, you'll see that we're kind of a close-knit group. We kind of keep you informed on just about everything. I mean, when I'm saying transparent, when I start telling you about escrow accounts and, all the behind-the-scenes stuff, I'm really sharing almost every aspect of what we're doing. When I say we're not taking a salary and we're not taking more than 20% of the shares that draw dividends, I'm telling you that right here on this video. So I can't do anything illegal because of the SEC filing, and I certainly can't do anything immoral or unethical because there's proof right here. I'm telling you right here, right now, we'll never have more than 20% of the common shares drawing dividends because we want to see this thing just really take off from a grassroots standpoint. We had a marketing company on the front end. It was the company was recommended by several people, and they ended up taking a ton of money from us and produced this many investors, right? So we said, you know what, let's crank up the grassroots approach. And the grassroots approach was to talk to people like yourself and go out and give people the opportunity to see that we're totally different from anything that you've seen in the past. We're much different from typical Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin related companies. But the fact that we are in fact regulated, I guess you'd say, and because of the fact that we have decided that dividends are being paid out, we're going to have a small fraction of the entire company. We just want to have a good time with it, to be honest with you. We look forward to. So far, it's been a blast. I can think back 20 years ago where I had so much stress on me walking in and out of that office with shareholders breathing down your neck and so on and so forth, and all of just running the business, was difficult. But everything that you had on top of that, this is totally different for several reasons. Number one, I'm a lot older and wiser at this point. Number two, we're not a public company. We are a private company. But number three, I've got a consultant behind the scenes that I've known for quite some time, and he is kind of shepherding us through this process to make sure that everything goes as it should. For example, when we call up and buy additional rigs, he's making that purchase for us. And, he'll tell me something. Here's an example. We're ready for 5 more rigs. Okay, well, here's what I would recommend. There are these 90 terahash rigs right now. There's a glut, and we can pick those up for this amount of money. The electricity cost is going to be X. The 104s are next in line. I wouldn't buy any hundreds right now, and I definitely wouldn't buy anything above that. So he's so connected with the machinery, the rigs themselves, and he's also connected with what's happening in the market. So he kind of keeps us on the straight and narrow when it comes to what we should be buying. And the name Spartan, by the way, think about that for a second. The reason we came up with that, 2 reasons. One, I'm in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Actually, it's 3. I used to work for a company called Spartan Food Systems for 16 years, way back in my career. And 3, Spartan by definition is, we work frugally. Not over 90% of every dollar we bring in is going toward buying equipment to produce Bitcoin. And based on what's produced, we're able to grow this business, put into more mining rigs, and paying out that dividend it's really, I get a kick out of that. It's like Christmas at that every time we do it. We do it once a month, and I can't wait to see those shares start to accumulate in everyone's accounts, because they will hold value down the road as we execute our exit strategy at the right time.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, can you tell us a little bit? So, what do you do? One problem that a lot of people have with Bitcoin mining is, your miner breaks, or you have to upgrade, and there's repairs and things like that. Is that do you just have a budget allocated aside for that, or how do you handle when, we need to upgrade our miners, or they're broken, or how do you handle things like that?
Okay, here's something I haven't discussed ever in public. So, breaking news here. There's actually at least 3, if not more, miners that all are in a pool. And we're not talking about the Luxor pool or, the Bitcoin mining pool. We're talking about a pool of operators. Okay. So our company and at least 3 others right now all kind of share in, all of our Bitcoin mining rigs are assigned to us by serial number, and we own those, and those are the assets that we have. However, if there are 500 rigs out there running all at the same time, if one goes down over here and another one goes down over here and 3 more need to go down for cleaning or what have you, then we all share equally in the distribution of the revenue. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So think about that for a second. If right out of the gate, we've got, 15 rigs up and running, and all 15 have problems, we're in deep doo-doo. If, on the other hand, our 15 are down and we're in a pool of 500, then it's only a blip on the radar. So we receive, every morning I get an email that says, a Bitcoin has been deposited into your account. And that number stays consistent all the time because of that approach that we're taking. When it comes to the electricity costs and maintenance and so forth, right now we're doing the best we can to get the best possible price. But I mentioned to you earlier, we talked to someone today that we'll always be looking for the best energy costs. We'll also be looking for the best price on miners themselves. And in some cases, we're able to sign a 3-year agreement so that we lock in really good energy costs. So again, Spartan, frugal, everything we can do to run this thing in a way where it truly is shareholder friendly, because there's nobody here behind the scenes lining their own pockets. You know what I mean? And we'll make sure that's always the case. We've set it up where that can't happen. It's just not going to be something that anyone has to worry about, because we're building this out. My daughter just is going to Carolina in August. So my wife and I'll be empty nesters for the first time. Our goal, in case you're wondering why we're in this, she'll be getting out of school 5 years from now, maybe 6, maybe 4. We'll see. But anyway, the road that she takes and the career path that she takes will dictate that. But our goal is to, once they're both out of school, is do some traveling. And whatever we end up making from this project, I'm sure it'll be more than enough for us to hit the road and enjoy ourselves. And I won't be worth much at age 65 anyway. So it'll give me something to do.
Well, I hope when I'm 65, I hope I'm still building
How old are
companies.
you?
I'm 35.
35. Okay.
So I hope in 30 years I'm still building companies, and I hope I'm, still doing stuff, and I love it. I think this is great.
We'll still be doing a lot by then, I'm sure, but I can't ever walk away completely from anything.
Yeah.
In fact, if we take it public, the ideal situation would be to take it public and allow people to liquidate at least a portion of their shares, at least take their original investment out and see where we can go from there. But all that, everything involved with this project right now we can do remotely. But we're not quite ready to hit the road yet. So
yeah, no, absolutely. So can I ask, I know you have to be kind of careful about what you say, being officially an SEC filed and all that. But how should someone think through, first off, when you might be exiting, what their return might be? How should someone just think through something like that?
Sure. Well, we will put together numbers and we will share those on a frequent basis with our shareholders. Okay. And those numbers will kind of dictate if you take a look at a typical stock, okay, you're measuring the value of that stock based on income statements, balance sheets, the price to earnings ratio, price to sales ratio. There's all sorts of different measurements that you use to determine the true value of a stock. And, a lot of people use those same measurements to determine whether one's oversold, overbought, what have you. But those measurements on a conservative basis will allow us to kind of give people a valuation. And that valuation will be, I think it says in the filing that they're arbitrary. I think that's the word, but they're not really. All you have to do is really compare yourself to other businesses in the industry. What's their current price to earnings? What's their current price to sales? And then if you take just a fraction of that, let's say we run everything conservatively at 60% of those numbers just to determine our value or our assumed value, then that's what we'll do. We'll always keep people up to speed as to what's happening. And it's with Bitcoin price, it's going to be all over the board, man. I was excited to see that May was really, it was the equivalent of a 11.9% annual return. Then June happened, and June was terrible, but July's not bad. Even I would consider Bitcoin, where it's trading right now, it's mediocre at best, right? But even at that, we were able to make some money because, again, we're running things on as frugally as we can, and we don't have any unnecessary expenses. We don't have an office. We don't have, what fees we do have are related to the dashboard that I mentioned earlier, and attorney and accountant. Our big expense every year will be an audit. In order to stay in this process, we have to file every year, and every year we have to do an audit based on our previous year results. So I think that's probably 30 to 50,000. That's probably the biggest expense we'll have for anything that we do. So
okay, very cool. So guys, what I like about this is if you believe in the future of crypto, that means you're really counting on the future of Bitcoin, okay? And if you want exposure to Bitcoin, there's several ways you can do it. So first off, you can just buy Bitcoin and hold it. That's one way. I have several Bitcoin I'm just holding on to. You can do some of the DeFi, Bitcoin mining, where you're going to be getting new Bitcoin each month. Or this is kind of a third way for you to get exposure to Bitcoin. This is really getting shares, ownership of a Bitcoin mining company. Okay, so as Bitcoin grows, as the market cap of Bitcoin grows, the price of Bitcoin goes up, more people are brought into crypto, more people are brought into Bitcoin itself, Bitcoin's on the news, things like that. Then the value of this company that is mining Bitcoin, and by that time we'll have been successfully mining for a year or 2 years or whatever the time frame might be. All that stuff is going to make the value of the company go up. So really, ownership in this company is just another way for you to get exposure to Bitcoin in a safer way. There's an SEC filing, and in kind of a more creative way. This is going to be a cash flowing business that is mining Bitcoin. So again, I for me personally, this is not financial advice. In fact, let me pull up that just to remind you, not financial advice. There, bottom of the screen. Not financial advice, but I think if you believe in the future of Bitcoin, then something like this will be a good place to diversify, getting you that exposure to Bitcoin. So I think it's very clever, and it's different than anything else that I've seen. When two people actually brought Greg and Spartan Bitcoin Mining to me, it was Professor Keith, who you guys know, and Crypto Sensei. And from two different directions, when I hear from two different directions, people I really respect, that they're saying, hey, you got to check out this Spartan Bitcoin mining. I was like, oh, if I'm hearing it from two different sides, that's something that I'm excited about. So Greg, I think this is really cool.
Thank you, sir. Well
awesome.
put.
Okay. Audience, do you guys have any questions? A lot of this is fairly straightforward, so I don't even have a ton of questions. Zelf would like to know, where does the electricity come from? Is it a third party housing the miners?
Yes, sir. It sure is. And everybody's pretty secretive about that sort of thing. There's not a lot I can go into, but I'll just answer the question straightforward. Yes, third-party miners.
Okay, very
again,
good.
We sign agreements with them on the electricity and hosting costs, and up to 3 years. So there you go.
There you go. So how is this different than something like Hut 8 Mining? I own some of their shares. So I'm not familiar with Hut, and I'd have to look into them themselves. My guess is they're not filed because they're in Canada. So investment details are a little bit different there, but I'd have to look into it. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what's different. But there's even room for diversification between, like I'm part of Kadena hashing and fraction mining. There's two companies kind of doing similar things, but I like both of them because you can even diversify. You diversify into industries, but you can also diversify in an industry into multiple companies. I don't know, Greg, are you familiar with Hut 8 Mining?
I'm not, but it did trigger a thought. We will probably end up being a company that's a mile wide and 10 feet deep. And what I mean by that is our average investor right now is $600. And we would like for it to be that way, to be honest with you. I'd rather have 20,000 investors at $600 or 50,000 investors with $600 than I would people throwing their life savings into something like this. So it does kind of bring you back to that word you just used, diversification. It's just one more piece of the puzzle in the crypto space where you can put your money in and make an investment. And if we do what we say we're going to do, then your stock should grow in value over time. You should receive additional stock on a monthly basis based on the way we're going to structure this thing, already have structured it. And at the appropriate time, there will be an exit strategy for all of us, and we'll benefit at that point.
Okay. Very cool. Nope. Really, really like it. And I love that you said that because a lot of project founders come on and they say, no, this is the safe, put your life savings into this, sell your mother's house and put it into this and things like that. So I appreciate you just that word of caution. It's still risky. Crypto is still, more of a speculative asset. We're just now getting our first ETFs. Okay. So this is still a very speculatory asset class. But with that, there's more. Whenever you get into something more speculative, there's higher potential for rewards. But there is also that higher potential for risk. So you just have to keep that in mind. And Richie says, good thoughts, Greg. I agree. Diversify. So, and shout out to Richie. I actually just went down to met up with him in St. Joseph's, Missouri last week. So if anyone is in the Midwest, really anywhere, I'll come meet you. Any of my subscribers, I'll come meet you and we'll grab coffee or lunch or something like that. So. Awesome. Paul says, found their office building on Street View. Where are the miners?
I'm not sure what you're looking at. We don't have an office building on Street View.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, there's no.
I would be
no
interested to figure out where he's talking about.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe you know what? He might be looking at. There's actually a publicly traded company here in Spartanburg, South Carolina, believe it or not, that started Bitcoin mining. And I drove out to their facility. And it's in the middle of nowhere, 6 stories high. As you get closer, you can hear the hum of the fans. Surrounded by security, and on all 4 sides, it's about a quarter of a mile just out in the middle of nowhere. And so, even the publicly traded companies are very secretive about how they operate. But yeah, ours are all remotely located in multiple states right now. So,
okay.
If he wants to share that link, he's more than welcome to. I'd like to see
he said 1399 Coffeen Avenue is what he was looking at. So.
Oh, okay. That's where we're registered. We're a Wyoming corporation, so I think that's the address of the
LLC.
Yeah, LLC, correct.
Yep. So
we did that through Wyoming for a number of legal reasons and financial reasons. So
yeah,
not to go into all that.
Yep. Just so everyone knows, anyone who does anything involving the internet or crypto or e-commerce, LLCs in Wyoming. Okay. Everybody does it because they have the most favorable LLC rules. Sometime maybe we'll do a video on that because I have, I think 7 Wyoming LLCs just for different stuff because that's where you always go. So
speaking of LLCs, my wife and I will probably put together one for helping people go through the crowdfunding, the CF filing process. So as you're listening to this, if you have individuals that are looking to raise funds for their business, just keep that in mind. You're always welcome to contact us. We don't have anything formal put together yet, but if we did take the time to learn every step of the process and go through it ourselves, why not take the opportunity to share that with others. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, I love this. We'll go ahead and wrap up there. If people have more questions, what's the best way to get questions answered?
we have a contact page on our website at SpartanBitcoinMining.com. Just go there, and I'll be happy to answer. Yeah. Hey, speaking of Spartan, see how remedial that looks?
Yeah.
There's no big flash or bells and whistles on our site, man. It's all bare bones because we want to put every dollar we can into. I'm just making excuses now. That's really I could dress that up a little bit.
No, this is how I like it. I'm an engineer by trade, so I prefer, hey, show me just the minimum that you need. Minimum viable product is what we say, right?
There you go.
So awesome. So if you have more questions, go to the contact us page and you can ask there. If you want to get involved, invest in SpartanMining.com. That's a good domain name. But if you want to look at the SEC forms, you can there, or you can just go to Invest Now. And then they're going to ask you some questions because there are SEC limits on how much you can invest based on your net worth and investable assets and things like that. So you're going to ask a few questions, then it'll tell you, okay, this is the max that you can do. This girl here, very helpful, but she will help you through all of this. And then you said you can invest using credit card or ACH or even Bitcoin, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of different ways you can get your money in. And then there's a kind of a portal here. When you go to investor login, it'll show you how many shares you have. And then when the dividends start coming on, you'll be able to start seeing that info there. There is a blog where you kind of are keeping people updated. What's the best way for people to get updates on?
Actually, we haven't done it. You just pointed out something to me. We haven't done a good job keeping up with the blog. We send out a weekly update. It goes via email, and it's either a email or it is a video. So we just sent one out last night, as a matter of fact, going into the details on the dividend. So you don't have to worry about it. We'll keep you informed. Okay.
Okay. Very good. So you'll just put in your email, and when you invest, you'll put your email in there, and so then you'll start getting updates on, hey, here's how we're going to be doing dividends. We just got another set of miners set up and things like that. They'll keep you up to date on all of that.
Right. And here's the other thing too. We respond probably within hours, if not minutes, for every inquiry that we get. We have Spartan Bitcoin Mining at gmail.com. My wife and I both have access to that. By the way, she runs all the day-to-day behind the scenes stuff. I'm out here talking to people like you. But if you send us an email at any time even before you're invested, but once you're invested, you can contact us at any time, 24/7, and we'll answer whatever questions you have.
Okay. Very cool. Well, hey, we'll go ahead and wrap up there. I'm very excited about this one. I'm going to be investing myself. Just want to let you guys know that. But again, not financial advice. I'm just telling you what I'm doing and what I think about it. But you have to talk with your spouse. Don't do anything without their approval. But this is something that, you might want to think about. So we'll wrap up there. Audience, thank you guys so much. You're amazing. Appreciate you guys showing up each and every day. I say it so much, but I wish I had more ways to say it. But the only reason I can do interviews like this is because I have an audience. Okay, so I appreciate you guys watching. You're much more important to the James Pelton channel than I am. And Greg, thank you for building something kind of cool in this space, merging traditional finance and crypto a little bit. I like that. And thanks for bringing it to us. And I look forward to kind of growing along with you in this.
You're quite welcome, sir. Thanks for your time. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. I'll be back tomorrow, and take care.